Welcome back to IANA TV. I'm Amy Sweezy. My next guest is Lars Jensen. Lars is with Vespucci Maritime. Thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure being here.
So tell me what it is that you do.
Oh, very simple. I look at the container shipping industry and try to figure out what's going on and where are things going.
I like it. What's your title?
I got the exalted title of CEO, but keep in mind, by definition, it's a one-man band. So I can give myself any title I want.
Okay, you can be whatever you want to be. I love it. Talk a little bit about the landscape of the intermodal industry from your perspective. Obviously, you have a very unique perspective.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, given I look at the international movements, intermodal is to some degree, I was about to say, a victim of the international developments here. And when I look at intermodal in the US, it's not a pretty story. When I look globally, global trade, container movements are booming. They are growing strongly everywhere except for one place, here in the US. The US has had negative growth ever since the start of the trade war, and I fear we are only seeing the beginning of this. So the impact on intermodal is negative when it comes specifically here. Globally, everything is actually quite fine, but not here.
And what are those reasons? What are the big reasons?
There is one key reason. That's the trade policy, the trade war that the US has been pursuing. That has had a fundamental negative impact on trade volumes. And given that we have only seen the full implementation of the trade war here during August, this is going to be worse going forward. That's the most direct impact.
So what does the U.S. do about that?
The U.S. is right now working actively at making it worse, let me be quite blunt. And how on earth could it be any worse? The challenge is it's on two fronts. One thing is launching a trade war, raising tariffs. The international trade can usually work with that, right? Let's just, for argument's sake, say all tariffs were suddenly 50%, it would have a negative impact, but you could plan your supply chains after that and modify them accordingly. But what we have seen increasingly in recent months are rapid and unexpected changes. So trade policies change, suddenly there's higher tariffs or there are commodities that are exempt, deadlines are moved up. That creates a level of unpredictability. And in supply chain, predictability is everything, because that's how you plan your supply chain. You need to have a reasonable idea, what does the trade environment look like 2, 3, 4 months or a couple of years down the line. Right now, there is zero predictability. I've seen a lot of importers change their perspective over these 4 months. Initially, it was all about, fine, let's find out what's the new landscape, let's change sourcing or supply chains accordingly. But as these things keep changing literally week by week, most are now at a point where they're not changing anything. They keep to whatever setup they had before the trade war, and they do day to day or week to week firefighting. There's no plan for changing it. There's no plans for making investments, because that requires a predictability that's just not here.
So what can be done, right? Like if you feel that if it's kind of out of your control, what do the people who are working in it day to day, what do they do?
They simply spend most of their time trying tactically to find out what has changed compared to yesterday. Okay, so suddenly a new trade. Let's take a practical example. On Friday, September 5th, out of the blue, there was an executive order listing more than 800 commodities that were suddenly exempt from tariffs. That was to be implemented 3 days later after the weekend. This was the second time in a month we saw such rapid changes. So the only thing shippers can do is to have the mentality, we need to keep on top of this every day. How do we then find out extremely rapidly, does this impact us? And if it does, what does it mean? Should I change my pricing? Should I cancel some of the orders? Should I postpone my cargo? What tactically should I do? And when I say tactically, some of the decisions are pretty odd. Earlier in the year, when we had the very large tariffs on China, there were quite literally cargo that had been loaded in China on ships, arrived over here to the West Coast. The shippers in question told the carrier, do not discharge my cargo. Keep it on board the ship for a full journey all the way back to China and then all the way back to the US again, in the hope that the tariffs have then changed. But if you discharge it, I'm going to pay 145% tariff. I don't want that. It's cheaper to keep it on board the ship for a full round trip around the Pacific in the hope that things will improve. These are the kind of tactical decisions that are being forced.
I know you spoke on day one here at the Expo. What were you hoping that the audience took away from your speech?
Hopefully they did not come about completely dejected and say, oh my God, things are horrible. Because, I mean, trade still flows. There's still a lot of cargo that needs to be moved. But I hope they come away also with the understanding that if they sit still with this mentality, there's something I'm missing. I should be able to plan because surely this is what we do. Right now, no, you cannot. If you feel you're in firefighting mode, that is actually the only sensible approach as it is right now.
Well, and it feels so heavy, so negative, so, you know, it's challenges, but where's the silver lining? Where's the resilience, or how do we kind of get past all of this?
Right now, there is not a lot of resilience. Right now, this uncertainty is being driven by what I would tend to call an external factor, at least external from this industry. In this case, is actually the US administration in itself. What we should hope for at some point in time is that they will stop making constant changes to the trade environment. Because as I mentioned, one thing is the magnitude of, for example, tariffs. The other thing is the speed with which they change. The speed of change is a much more negative force on the industry than the magnitude of the tariffs. So what we should hope for is that at least this settles down so we can plan accordingly.
Okay. You've been attending the expo several times in a row, several years in a row. What is it that you love about being here at the expo?
No, for me, I mean, given I usually deal with the maritime side, this gives me the opportunity to talk to a lot of people and stakeholders over on the intermodal side, on the trucking side, on the inland side, which I think is absolutely great. I mean, one of the things coming here is precisely to talk to the people that are here. For me, that is the absolute best part of it.
And what would you say to someone who's never attended before?
Again, if you have never attended before, if you really want to get the lowdown and the feel for what is actually moving in the intermodal sector, this is the place to be.
All right, Lars Jensen, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
I appreciate your time, and thank you for being part of IANA TV.
Thank you.
All right, I'm Amy Sweezy, and you are watching IANA TV.